Where do I begin? Let's go. So Bleach chapter 578 marks the ending of Kenpachi versus Stern Ritter v. Gremmy, whatever you want to call him at this point. And, I mean, the positive is the fact that this fight is out the way. This villain is out the way. This antagonist, whatever you want to call him, is out the way. That's the positive. And as a whole, one of the positives that this fight brought forth was Kenpachi is back in the fold. He's back, he's returned. He's at Shikai form at this point. So he's advanced as far as, his fighting capabilities, maybe even Bankai, who knows. So we also got to see what his Shikai looks like. So that's the positives that this chapter, or this fight for that matter, brought forth. Now this chapter and the ending of Gremmy, Stern Ritter v. Just what in the fuck was going on with the ending of this fight? First of all, I had to look at it multiple times to try and grasp what the hell happened at the very end of that chapter, because chapter starts off and yet again is pretty much what this entire fight has been. I got some tricks. Oh, I'm Zaraki. That don't matter to me. And I thought the most interesting thing that Gremmy tried to do was sending him to space, and it was kind of like having me laugh a little bit, because it just made me for some reason think of Godzilla in space when I was thinking like Zaraki in space. Like, just imagine it as a movie, Zaraki in space or something like that. So that was probably the most interesting thing that Gremmy did. Like, he threw a meteor, didn't do shit. Shikai, get the fuck up out of here. And then he had clones of himself with bombs in this chapter, didn't do anything. I mean, if you can't do him in space, if you can't rip his fucking blood out in his eyes and everything, then some bombs ain't gonna do shit. And then the end of this chapter, you see pretty much what this fight did is that Kenpachi, being such an amazing character that he is, he made this kid change and just lose total control and basically look at him like, the only way to beat him is to be him. If you can't beat him, join him, or if you can't beat him, be him. And that's what he tried to do, and that's what I'm understanding with the ending of this chapter, because it felt very vague. It felt like Unohana's Bankai in a sense, where it's just like, what the hell happened? And from my understanding of looking at it, and again, I might be wrong, it might have been that Zaraki just gave him a couple swipes, but you see him charging in, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you, you're the first person that made me want to get you, I'm gonna get you, and you see his body is all bulked up, and there's like slashes, like if his body is being ripped apart from the inside, and I'm guessing what happened was he started imagining the monster Zaraki within him, and it just started to rip away at him, and he couldn't take it, and it ultimately killed him. And even Zaraki says, you idiot. And I was just thinking to myself, man, for a fight that really wasn't much to begin with, and then it ends off like that. Like, what the fuck? Like, really? Shitty antagonist, shitty villain, shitty fight that he brought forth, and a shitty ending. To a great protagonist, great hero if you want to call him, great warrior, great appearance of his, upgrade of his technique, and bringing a great character back into the fold. So it was like, Zaraki came, it's like, you had your ace in the hole, you have the greatness, you have something like, Zaraki, you pretty much throw him in anything and he's good, but then you mix him with just some piss poor kid, and that's the thing that I felt that this chapter put and solidified. It almost felt as though Gremmy was a Fullbringer. Period. That's what I felt with this chapter. It was just like he was nothing. Like, Zaraki is so manly and such a monster that him imagining him, it fucked him up and basically made him turn into like this bulky thing, and it ripped him from the inside. So Zaraki killed him from the inside. That's how much of a monster Zaraki is. And in that sense, it's like epic as hell, but it just felt anticlimactic, because that was me trying to grasp it. And again, I could be mistaken. That's me trying to grasp what the fuck happened at the ending. So for you to end off vaguely and just anticlimactic with Zaraki, that was a no-go, and I just felt like the ending of this fight, and this whole fight for that matter, just wasn't what Zaraki deserved. Zaraki deserves so much more. If you know from what I've said many different times, I feel as though Zaraki should be the main character of this bitch. I love the character. He's one of the best in the series, period. You throw him in anything and it's just, you're guaranteed a hit, but just what happened, like everything on Zaraki's side was on par. He kept on coming back. He gave you those one-liners. He got his Shikai. He's advanced as a character to the point where he's doing things a little more in a strategic manner instead of just brute, like, I'm swiping, I'm crazy. But then the villain and the person that he's fighting was just terrible. This was a mismatch and a half. Like, if anybody was going to come at Zaraki, maybe it should have been Bazby. Maybe it should have been one of those, the other Stern Ritters. But you're putting a brute versus some crazy, crusty kid. And that's what you got out of it. And there's no fault to Zaraki. And there were epic elements throughout the fight. And it was all Zaraki. Gremmy, on the other hand, I don't like Gremmy. Even sounds kind of cool for the character. We're not calling him Gremmy anymore. From now on, he is Greg. Stern Ritter V for virgin crusty motherfucker, because that's what he is ultimately. Like, Greg, Stern Ritter V, was terrible, and this fight's ending just felt anticlimactic. It was just like Zaraki Kenpachi came to play, and it's like Michael Jordan to a 10-year-old. Best example I could put. So overall, I'm happy in a sense that the fight is over. That's good. The fight is done. We can get Zaraki, hopefully, a formidable opponent at this point. Like, maybe this is just a preliminary, to show somewhat of what he's capable of, and then we'll get a real fight. Because, I mean, even with everything that Gremmy did, he's kind of scratched up and everything, and he sent them to fucking space, again, like some Godzilla in space. It just really didn't feel like it was doing anything, and Zaraki beat him mentally. And in a sense, I guess that you can attribute that to his brute force nature, and at the same time that maybe Zaraki has gotten to the point where he can do mind games. Again, that's advancement on his side, but just anticlimactic. That's the best word to put it on. In a sense, I'm disappointed in a Zaraki fight. Zaraki's a legendary character, and I wanted to see him go in, and it just wasn't happening with this chapter. So Zaraki, hopefully we get a better opponent, better fight, and more of a matchup that is actually equal, and just not some kid that is just pissing himself because I want to be Zaraki. Because that's what I felt like what the ending of this chapter was. So I'm going to give this chapter 4 out of 10. Overall, it just felt like not what Zaraki should be doing, and I'm really hoping this isn't the final fight that Zaraki Kenpachi has in the Bleach series, because this is the last arc. Like, give him somebody else, even if it's Horswald or somebody stronger or somebody that can give him more of a fight, that can back him up against the wall. Because Gremmy, it was just like, you're sending me here, you're sending me there, you ain't doing shit. That's just what I felt with this chapter. But again, I'm glad that it's over, and hopefully Zaraki Kenpachi, now that he has his Shikai, he can get somebody that is worthy of being swiped by that shit, because Gremmy wasn't even worthy. I felt as though Kubo almost said Gremmy isn't worthy of getting, whipped with this one last time. I'm just going to have him die from the inside out, because in a sense you could look at it as a commentary of the psyche of this kid, and how he almost, in a sense, worshipped him from one moment to another. And you should be yourself. You should never try to imitate others. I guess maybe that was what Kubo was trying to say with this one. But yeah, it's just for a Bleach quality of fight, which Bleach is one of the best. When it comes to fights, Bleach is practically bar none. Almost no series can touch a Bleach fight. I will tell you that right now. No Shonen series can touch a Bleach fight, but this just wasn't at the level that I'm used to at Bleach. So, yeah, there it is. That's what I think about this chapter. Overall review, again, 4 out of 10. Hopefully the next Zaraki fight is legendary and amazing, like all the Zaraki fights usually are. But Greg just wasn't cutting the mustard. But let me know what you think. First of all, did you interpret the ending of this fight differently? Did you feel as though Greg, or let me stop saying Greg. From now on, I'll call him by his name. Did you feel as though Gremmy died a different way? Was it that he was hit with the actual Shikai? Again, you see his body buffed up, so it was something to do with his imagination, and even what Zaraki says at the end. So, do you think it was a little bit different than what I said, what I interpreted it as? And just overall thoughts of this fight, the finale of it. Do you feel it was anticlimactic? And as a Zaraki fight, where do you put it at? For me, it's like, this isn't holding up to the candle of that Zaraki versus Ichigo legendary fight. This wasn't on that level. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for Zaraki Kenpachi, because just because he had a crusty opponent doesn't mean anything that the character is crusty, because Zaraki Kenpachi's still a fucking beast, and it was just he had a fucking biscuit in his way, and he just had to toast it up. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.